Good afternoon and welcome to City Club of Portland Friday Forum. City Club is where we bring civic-minded people together to make Portland and Oregon a better place for everyone to live, work, and play. I'm Karen Curvin, President of City Club, and I would like to welcome members and guests alike, those of you who join us today at Sentinel and those of you listening on OPB Radio or watching on Portland Community Media. Today we've got a panel of pundits and political hacks who will give a well-deserved roast to the campaign season. And they've got a whole hour to discuss the spookiest campaign details because we won't have Q&A from the audience. But first, some announcements. The generous support of City Club's corporate and media partners ensures we put on the state's best civic programs week after week. I'd like to thank our media partner, Oregon Business Magazine. Our current Friday Forum sponsors are AARP, Barron Liebman, Iberdrola Renewables, Perkins Coie, Portland General Electric, and Providence Health and Services. We are grateful for your support and commitment to City Club's mission. Please join me in a warm round of applause for all of them. We've got an exciting start to the week next week. Monday night, Keith Tomajian, President, CEO of United Way of Columbia Willamette, will be New Leaders Collective's Leader Spotlight. With election night on Tuesday, we are hosting civic drinks in partnership with Just Portland, Coalition of Communities of Color, and the Northwest Health Foundation. The event will be hosted at Northwest Health Foundation at 2nd and Davis from 6 to 9 p.m. Next week's Friday Forum is a partnership with All Hands Raised for the Raising Our Hands, Raising the Bar Summit. The forum, titled Meeting Our Schools on Their Edges to Align Action, will be held at Portland State University at noon, not here at the Sentinel Hotel. You can learn more about City Club events, purchase tickets, and become a member on our website, pdxcityclub.org. So a quick plug here for the City Club Annual Fund. Because we all love Portland, we need to make it better for all Portlanders. Here at City Club, membership, event attendance, the number of research projects completed, the visibility and impact of City Club is up and increasing. We are becoming a younger, more racially diverse organization focused on serving all of Portland. We are doing a good job, but there's much more to do. Portland still has too many unmet civic needs. Today, we are asking for your support, $25, $50, $100, so that we can build a club for every Portlander. You will find donation envelopes on your tables. Please fill them out and give them to City Club staff members or associates at the end of today's program. Thank you very much. As always, we will be live tweeting today's program. You can follow along and join the conversation using the hashtag PDXCityClub. And now for our program. Candy, costumes, and campaigns. Today we are celebrating Friday Forum's Halloween campaign post-mortem. Why wait until after the election? It would be too late to offer much needed accountability. Today, our panel will discuss the spookiest campaign ads, the campaign promises least likely to be fulfilled, and more. I'm thrilled to introduce today's panel. Our moderator is Sarah Mink, the online editor for Bitch Media, where she writes and edits daily feminist articles. Today's panelists are Dr. Eric Fruits, expert in economics, finance, and statistics, Courtney Haumeister, head writer, Livewire Radio, Jeff Mapes, Oregonian politics reporter, and Peter Wong, reporter, Salem Bureau at Portland. Take it away, Sarah.
Hi. Hello and welcome to City Club's Friday Forum. I'm Sarah Merck, and today it's Halloween, and even scarier, it's 4 days until the general election. The election this year has been surprisingly dramatic. The push to label genetically modified foods has become the most expensive measure campaign ever in state history. And as I speak, the question of whether Oregon should legalize marijuana for recreational use is neck and neck in the polls. Instead of sitting around biting our nails to wait for the election results, City Club has assembled this panel of 4 journalists and politicos to dissect the election and hack into the weirdest, funniest, most unexpected parts of Oregon politics. These are, of course, serious issues that many people have devoted their lives over the past few months to working on, hoofing it door to door to register voters, and rallying to support laws that they think will make our society a little bit better. We all appreciate, recognize, and respect the effort of people working in politics. But today, we're going to have a little fun with serious subjects. It's time to take a breath and take a break from the grim reality of electoral politics. Over the next hour, our 4 fine guests and I are here in the spirit of the most noble Halloween tradition, making ourselves ridiculous. So, first off, I'll introduce you to the
That
4.
won't be hard.
I'll introduce you to the 4 panelists, and I'll ask them one thing. What's the most unexpected phrase you heard in the 2014 election campaign? So let's go first to Jeff Mapes, who is the Oregonian's state politics reporter. Jeff, what's the most unexpected phrase you heard this election?
Well, I have to say that in 30 years of political reporting, I thought everything had passed through my word processor, but sham marriage is a new one for me, particularly combined with First Lady, which has passed through my typewriter a few times. And also, I have to say, pot farms and First Lady is new on me. So, man, I've been making a lot of history with First Ladies this time.
What's the story around the sham marriage?
What is the story around the sham marriage? Well, as doubtless all the fine readers of the Oregonian know, and Willamette Week. Wait a minute. Did they break something on that? Damn. As all these readers know, of course, Sylvia Hayes, the first lady and fiancée of Governor John Kitzhaber, once married an Ethiopian immigrant for $5,000 so that he could obtain a green card. And she fessed up to all of this, and lucky for her, the statute of limitations has passed.
So you never saw that one coming?
No.
So let's go to Dr. Eric Fruits, who's an economist at Portland State University. Eric, what phrase jumped out at you that you were surprised by?
Well, as the token Republican in this room, we often play a game called Republicans Can Never Do That. And there's also another game we play called Republicans Can Never Say That. And so my phrase of the day comes from something that a Republican can never say, and that is the expression nice rich people. Anyone know where that comes from? It was spoken by none other than the progressive commissioner of the city of Portland, Stephen Novick, who was describing a group of people as nice rich people. Nice rich people are different from the other kind of rich people because the other kind of rich people would fund a measure to repeal the street tax that they are considering, but the nice rich people wouldn't.
Thanks, Eric. Next up, let's talk to Courtney Hammeister, who's the head writer of Livewire Radio. Courtney, what word or phrase did you not expect to see this campaign season?
My word or phrase is demon vampire sex book. That is a phrase that I would never expect to hear in a campaign. The story is that Paul Evans, he's a Democratic candidate for House District 20, and he's getting pressure from the Oregon Family Council, and he co-wrote a novel called, I'll call it a novel, but that's in quotes, Springtime in Babylon. And the book is about a Civil War soldier who fights an army of highly sexualized demon vampires led by Judas Iscariot. So it's sort of like the Bible meets Twilight meets 50 Shades of Grey meets Glory. And I
think I saw that movie at a bachelor party.
Yes. What I loved about this the most was that I actually went and you're able to go and read some of the book online, and it is fantastic. It's a great read. It's a real page turner. But what I loved about this was all of the sex parts were highlighted. And so someone from the Oregon Family Council had to go through and highlight the sex parts, just like we did. Any women here read Forever in high school and highlight all the sexy parts and give it? I just loved that. It was just like Forever. It was very sweet.
I looked up our Amazon rating, and I didn't know it was possible for an Amazon author rating to go so low. At least before the Oregon Family Council got a hold.
I was going to say, I guess Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter wasn't so far-fetched after all.
Yeah. Well, Peter Wong, who's the reporter in the Salem Bureau of the Portland Tribune, what's your word or phrase you didn't expect to see?
Well, and I know members of the City Club will be familiar with this, stalker reports.
Stalker reports.
Yes, we're talking about the two police reports on file from the ex-husband and ex-boyfriend of Monica Webby, the Republican nominee for the U.S. Senate. Although no charges were filed, she was accused of stalking both of them. And I do remember at their only joint appearance here at the City Club just before the May primary, that her primary opponent, Jason Conger, kind of brought up the subject in his closing statement. And then, as some of you may remember, Monica Webby dashed off quickly without answering any questions from us. I remember Jeff Mapes and I were among those trying to chase her.
Trying to stalk her, don't you mean?
So you
I
get
don't
paid
think
for that.
I don't think Portland police filed any charges about us either. That was all.
Well, and this is actually a good object lesson that in Monica Webby's defense, she did say that she was unaware that when the police are called to somebody's home because of a complaint like that, she didn't realize that they would actually write a report for all of this. So just for all you folks up in the West Hills who seem to like to call the police when you get in disputes with your loved ones, they do write reports.
I will mention one time, and I was in Southern Oregon then, but I got this 7-page report from the Portland Police Bureau on an assault 4, which normally, this was before those connected with domestic violence were regarded as a felony, but this was an assault 4, and it involved a state representative from Medford over a quarter century ago. And then I realized this guy was in trouble. Yeah, and subsequently, he did not take a plea or pay a fine. He ended up going to trial after the election, which he lost, and losing in court. So, but this new stalker report was a new thing for me in covering politics for almost 35 years.
Yeah, you think Oregon politics can't get weirder, and then yet every year it does. So the second round of dissecting Oregon's election with 4 smart, exceptionally talented politicos here. So now we're going to play a little game, and you've probably heard of it before. It's called 2 Lies and a Truth, the campaign edition. So 3 of our panelists will read off strange stories from this year's election campaign, and 2 of those stories are pure fabrication. 1 story is true. The person tasked with choosing which is fact and which is fiction is City Club of Portland President Karen Kervin. Karen, you ready?
A quick question, if I win, do I get Carl Castle's voice on my home answering machine?
No, you get Sarah's. It's better yet.
Okay. Does anyone have a home answering machine? I don't know. Okay, I'm ready.
All right, thanks for playing, Karen. So let's hear our first 3 stories. Ooh. The first up, let's hear from Dr. Eric Fruits of Portland State University.
Okay, so we all know that we are in the sustainability capital of the world, and we also know that Governor John Kitzhaber is not a big fan of moving coal anywhere through our state. But what we don't know, or what we don't know until now, because I've just revealed it to you, is that he has a black Labradoodle named Coltrane.
You know, I didn't know that. All right, let's hear from Courtney Hammeister.
All right, this is a story from a long time ago that's just resurfaced. Republican Senator Bruce Starr is reeling from the revelation that his college frat used car wash proceeds to fund a military coup on the small Polynesian atoll of Tuvalu in 1982 because the opposition leader looked, quote, exactly like Bill Murray, and that's rad, unquote.
A noble political purpose. And finally, third story. Keep thinking, Karen, about whether these are true or false. From Jeff Mapes.
Okay, we have a candidate this year in Oregon that I'll call Marty, whose proudest creative accomplishment was writing and directing the series Awkward Moments with Jesus. Basically, Jesus, played by Marty, by the way, so he's not only a director and an author, but an actor as well, hangs out with his friends while impressing them with his superpowers. Marty now dreams of becoming an auteur in addition to running for office. A new Martin Scorsese, if you will. But his dreams have run into a few bumps. For one, Portland State University has so far refused to give him a degree in film studies, even though Marty is sure he's completed all the requirements for the degree. So he's gone ahead and listed the degree in the voter's pamphlet. Why let yourself get hung up by some bumbling government bureaucracy?
All right, Karen, so we've got 2 lies and 1 truth. The first story, John Kitzhaber's dog, Black Lab, named Coltrane. Second story, potentially a frat house helping fund a military coup on a small Polynesian island. Or is there a candidate who directed a series called Awkward Moments with Jesus?
This is tough, but I have to go with the true story being Awkward Moments with Jesus.
You're correct. Yay!
Ding, 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 ding.
She knows that the senior political reporter for the Oregonian would never tell a lie.
Exactly.
So Jeff, what's the truth behind that story?
Okay, Jason Yates is the Republican nominee for the seat held by Republican Suzanne Bonamici, and you can see his series, Awkward Moments with Jesus, on YouTube. And you've got to see the episode about how Jesus shows his friends how he totally rocks on Guitar Hero.
That is too strange to be true, and yet you've seen it. All right, we've got 3 more stories. Nice job on round 1, Karen. Good job. Okay, so we've got 3 more stories. Let's go for Peter Wong.
All right. Even as a Libertarian Party candidate, Darrell Jones knows he faces an uphill battle in winning election to a Southern Oregon seat in the Oregon House, District 3. But he has a lot of supporters with young children. So tonight, in the spirit of Halloween, and in getting the attention of voters who haven't returned their ballots yet, Jones and his army will send their kids out for trick-or-treat tonight, but with a twist. The kids will still get their candy, but they'll also go to homes where their parents know that the residents haven't yet returned their ballots. So they'll be handing out brochures with a special Halloween design, reminding them to vote and also prompting them to vote for Jones. It's in keeping with the season, Jones said. He didn't say whether the brochures will feature a scary portrait of him or what the parents will do with their candy.
All right, next we've got another story from Courtney Hammeister of Livewire Radio.
Governor Kitzhaber signed a bill for an Oregon driver card a while back, but that was fought, and the successful fight against that bill that would have originally allowed for an Oregon driver card was funded by a reclusive amateur ventriloquist billionaire.
How interesting.
Is that true or not?
And finally, for our last story for Is This a Lie or Is This Truth? Let's go to Eric Fruits of PSU.
Well, this is supposed to be a good year for Republicans everywhere except in Oregon. But there was a small victory for Dennis Richardson yesterday, and that was that a Democratic candidate for governor came out and endorsed him in his race against John Kitzhaber.
So, Karen, can you choose which story is true? We've got trick-or-treating and propaganda spreading in Southern Oregon. We've got Courtney, can you sum up your story for us?
The successful fight against
Right.
the driver card was funded by a reclusive amateur ventriloquist billionaire.
Right. And then we've got Eric's story about Dennis Richardson being endorsed by a former Democratic candidate for governor.
May I ask a clarifying question?
I think that depends on what it is.
So, Eric, a former Democratic candidate for governor? Is that what your story
Yes.
said?
Words matter.
Words do matter. I think Eric's story is correct.
Karen's correct! Yay! Woo!
She wins Saren's answering machine.
This was kind of
Pronounce
wild.
that name, I dare you.
Kind of wild. His name, I had to write it out phonetically. His name is Ifeanyichukwu Duru. He's a very tall Nigerian man who recently became a U.S. citizen on a fast track by joining the U.S. Army. Got injured and left the Army and is now living in Oregon as a U.S. citizen. In the May primary, he ran against John Kitzhaber for governor. And believe it or not, got 9% of the vote. One of them was Sarah's. Yesterday,
awesome.
in what Dennis Richardson was sure to think was a huge coup for his race, announced that Ifeanyichukwu Duru has endorsed him for governor.
And shouldn't you also add that he did not marry Sylvia Hayes to get citizenship?
He is he's one of the few people Sylvia Hayes has not dated.
That's a little rough. I was
Shaming.
Truth hurts.
I was thinking Courtney's was right. Was yours
It's
not?
because I just changed one word. It was a reclusive amateur hypnotist, Lauren Parks, was the one who funded that campaign.
Words do matter.
Right?
This has been a good year for billionaires in Oregon.
As Jeff said, neither he nor I ever thought we would write billionaire and Oregon campaign in the same story. But we have repeatedly, actually.
All right, well, thank you so much for playing, Karen. You got them both right. You win absolutely nothing, but congratulations.
I do have one quick question for Courtney because words matter. Was it a nice billionaire?
Not according to court records. Yeah, if you look him up, it's not looking good for him.
Isn't
No.
he a sex hypnotist?
Yes, he concentrates quite a bit on sex and weight loss for ladies only, because ladies are really the only one that it matters for, right?
Do the two go hand in hand?
Yes, absolutely. According to him, I would
No
imagine.
puns,
Yes.
please.
I don't know about that.
Oh,
hand-to-hand.
that was awful.
All right, we're moving on. All
This
right.
is my last show.
So we're here at City Club Friday Forum dissecting Oregon's election season. In my opinion, the hands down creepiest, spookiest, weirdest part of the political campaigns are the television ads. So our panel of 4 Oregon politicos has chosen 3 of the spookiest TV ads from this election. We're going to watch them one by one and then, of course, tear them apart. So the first ad is from Jeff Merkley for Senate campaign. It features Merkley going around his house, all smiles and blue jeans, doing family activities like making a sandwich and playing ping pong, all in dramatic slow motion. Let's watch it.
Here in Oregon, you find champions in the strangest places. Take Jeff Merkley, a dad who still struggles to clean the garage, with 2 kids in Oregon public schools, a wife who works as a nurse, and always a champion for the middle class. Sure, these days Jeff puts on a suit when he goes to work for Oregon, but he's never forgotten his own middle class roots. Because he never left.
I'm Jeff Merkley, and I approve this message.
All right, to dissect this, let's go first to our token Republican, Dr. Eric Fruits. What was your take when you first saw this ad?
Well, outrage. Outrage. I was outraged. Again, this is something that a Republican can never do. If a Republican had an ad where they are lighting a charcoal grill, you would have the Sierra Club protesting outside his office all the way until Election Day.
How about you, Jeff? What was your response to this ad?
Well, whoa, I lost my. Okay. Well, I was so excited by that, I lost my microphone. Well, of course, I went out immediately and did investigative reporting. Found out that A, Jeff Merkley had to remove an old trailer just to get the damn ping pong table in there. So it's phonied up. Number two, I also learned in closely quizzing him on this over a 3-hour session with a bright light, is that he's pretending to be someone he isn't, because the reason he missed that ping pong shot is he doesn't wear glasses, even though he really needs them. And he's been getting by on the fact that you now have computer screens where you can blow up the print. Boy, talk about vain.
So Peter Wong, what for you was the strangest part of this ad?
Well, I do know, I believe Merkley owns enough rental property that he is in the, like many senators, is in the wealthy class these days. And yes, although he does still own the home that he has lived in for many years.
But he probably has people to clean his garage.
He probably does not need to clean the garage himself while think of new proposals to introduce to reduce the filibuster in the U.S. Senate.
So Courtney, what was your take on this ad when you first saw it?
Well, there are a lot of factors when I'm deciding who to vote for, who I want representing me, and I consider whether they have sound economic policies and what they think of women's health and how much of a priority it is. But the most important thing to me is, can they rock a pair of dad jeans? And this guy just passed with flying colors as far as I'm concerned on this one. Totally rocked those jeans. I was, however, appalled. People on the radio can't see this, but everything was in slow motion. It was very dramatic. And when he set down that box in the garage, I was appalled by the amount of dust that came up. I thought, you know what? If you can't keep your garage clean, I'm concerned about whether or not you can clean up the Senate,
But he's got the dad gene vote, so.
Absolutely. He's done that very
If
well.
Wendy was smart, she should have challenged him to ping pong.
Oh. Yeah, so instead of a political debate, they could just have a ping pong battle.
At least someone would show up, right?
Yeah.
And the content would be more interesting,
All right, so we're looking at the spookiest ads from Oregon's election campaign. We just watched an ad for Jeff Merkley for Senate, and now we're going to watch an ad from Measure 92, the GMO food labeling law, in which a scientist stands in a field and holds up 2 bags of corn seed, one yellow and one bright blue.
As the first EPA researcher to study genetically engineered crops, I have concerns about their safety. These are regular corn seeds. These are engineered to withstand huge doses of pesticides. That blue coating is 5 toxic chemicals that end up in our food. The chemical companies making these seeds made Agent Orange and claimed it was safe too. Want to know if you're eating this or this? Vote yes on Measure 92.
All right, so we've got a shout out to Agent Orange there. What else stood out to people from that ad?
I thought, oh, there goes the Halloween candy for tonight.
I'm a city boy. I haven't the faintest idea about seed corn, but yeah, when I first saw it, it scared the hell out of me, which is exactly what they want you to do, of course. Although the funny thing is, at first I wasn't sure if it was that or an ad for marijuana edibles.
Well, it's funny to me because I walked through the store and I noticed that blue corn tortilla chips cost about twice as much as regular tortilla chips. So if I was in the food business, what I would do is I would actually push this plan and then label mine, yeah, they are genetically modified. I have orange and pink chips.
And they're delicious.
Yeah. And the pot people will love it.
I thought that it was an effective ad, but I just thought that it would have been far more effective if they would have somehow used CGI and made the blue seeds actually crawl out of the bag as he's holding it and sort of eat his hand. I thought that would have really scared me.
Yeah. Could we watch this ad in 3D?
Yeah.
With something psychedelic occurring in the background?
Exactly. Again, that would be more like a marijuana ad.
All right, so the last Oregon political TV ad we're looking at and making fun of is gubernatorial candidate Dennis Richardson's motorcycle ad, in which it sounds like it's popular.
Guess you don't even need to see it.
Yeah. Well, you don't really need to see it because the candidate just rides his motorcycle all over the state while a voiceover lists his many accomplishments.
The same independent spirit that drove Oregon's pioneers drives Dennis Richardson today. His father was a union carpenter. His mother taught him to serve others. A decorated helicopter pilot, Dennis Richardson carried fallen soldiers off the battlefields of Vietnam and returned home to Oregon to start a family, succeed in business, and become a bipartisan leader in the Oregon State House. Oregon's road to a better future begins with leaders who have a new vision. Dennis Richardson for governor.
All right, he's going for the Easy Rider ticket. Peter, what was your take on this ad?
I was going to say, I did have to ask him when he did his motorcycle ride from Southern Oregon to Portland. I said, Dennis, I didn't know you rode. And he indeed does have a Harley Davidson, but he says it's very uncomfortable. So he rode a different bike for this. But anyway, Richardson missed an opportunity to cater to burnish his admittedly slender green credentials because I remember in 2013, he test drove a Tesla during the alternative fuel vehicles day at the Capitol, and he loved it. But of course, the Teslas cost $70,000, I believe, so maybe that wasn't the demographic he should have been appealing to. But then he also touts that there's a car company in Southern Oregon that manufactures an electric vehicle, and he believe in at least one debate he's mentioned that as an example of a company we should promote. So he already probably has a motorcycle crowd, but he missed an opportunity, I think.
You know, if you can use campaign funds to buy a Tesla, sign me up. I'm going to run for office. That's so cool.
I should mention, Jeff, when I was a reporter in California, a sitting assemblyman used his campaign fund to buy a Datsun, that's how far back it goes, but Datsun 280Z, and actually charged it to his campaign fund.
Yeah, well, if he's gonna do this ad, maybe he should do it with a greener vehicle like a Segway, right? I would vote for him if he was up for Segwaying around the state for his entire campaign. Eric, what did you take on this ad?
Well, he could have gone two ways on this. He could have gone the Segway way, but I think he really missed an opportunity because a lot of people complain that he's not been tough enough on Kit Sauber. And what he should have done is taken that motorcycle and just driven it through the doors of Mahonia Hall and then just kicked a dummy of Kit Sauber out of the chair and say, "This seat is mine."
Yeah, but the governor wouldn't have been there anyway.
Right. But Sylvia would have.
Courtney, what did you think when you watched this ad?
Well, I mean, I think what he's trying to get at, I mean, in literature, they often use motorcycles to symbolize danger or an outlaw spirit or someone who's highly sexualized. And I feel like if he wanted to do that, he should have lost the neatly pressed Oxford cloth that he was wearing. It doesn't really say outlaw to me. But I mean, I actually, it's sort of...
That's how Mormons do outlaw biking.
Yeah. This was actually the most effective one for me, honestly. As I was watching it when they were talking about his Vietnam service, I was like, I'm actually quite impressed with that. So good job.
Yeah, so this ad was actually impressive, but as we're saying, maybe could have been more dramatic, maybe a little bit more sexualized. He could have had the vampire sex book written by one of his colleagues on the back seat, and could have maybe been wearing a tougher outfit. Do you think that his outfit was tougher than Jeff Merkley's dad jeans? Or
yes, he had the leather jacket on, and I mean, it's tough to fight. I mean, when Kit Sauber was first running, and he actually saved someone's life when he was giving that speech that time and ran out into the audience, like that. Can we say badass on public radio? I'm sorry, but it's really hard to fight that, And so if people, so this was a good step in that direction, I think, but not quite as effective.
Well, thank you for your help in dissecting the spookiest political ads in the campaign so far. We're now on our last game of the Portland City Club Friday Forum, where we've asked 4 politicos to help us dissect the weirdest bits of Oregon's election season. For this last round, we're going to play a game of fill in the blank. So I have 5 actual news stories from Oregon politics, and all that's missing is one crucial detail. I've left it blank. I'm going to read the news story, and the panelists will have to fill in the blank. Are you all ready?
Yes.
Is this one more with chasing each other to get to the answer, or are you going to do it in turn?
I think I'm going to call on you. And then you're going to be on the spot to have to answer it.
Can I hide in the back?
Okay, so this is an actual news story and fill in the blank. So opponents of marijuana legalization in Oregon kicked off their campaign in September by standing next to an array of blank. So Eric Fruits, what do you think the answer is? Opponents of marijuana legalization in Oregon kicked off their campaign in September by standing next to an array of...
Bongs.
Courtney, what's your take? The legalization campaign in Oregon kicked off their campaign by standing next to an array of...
Those magic eye posters.
The kind where you lean in really close and then pull back to try and see an image.
Yeah. Exactly.
And it spelled out vote yes.
Yes. Yes.
Okay, Peter, what do you think the missing blank is here? How did they kick off their campaign by standing next to an array of...
Marijuana-infused candy and sodas.
Hey, you're correct! To make a point...
I didn't partake, however.
To make a point about kids potentially eating marijuana treats, the campaign kicked off surrounded by those stoner staples, gummy bears, sugary cereal, and chocolate bars, including apparently a tasty one called Canna Punch and a marijuana chapstick called Lip Bliss.
By the way, they also purport to have 8 ounces of marijuana, but then the Josh Markey, the DA of Clatsop County, who is one of the prominent spokesmen against it, hastened to say it's really full of hops.
Yeah, that proves, of course, that pot smokers' food tastes are just as bad as their puns, which it's tough to beat. Okay, nice job on that one, you all. Great job. Okay, our second fill in the blank is that here we go. The drama of a recent small-town election in Oregon is heading to be staged in New York City this week. The Statesman Journal described the play as part Our Town, part Rocky Horror. The name of the musical is blank. Jeff Mapes, what's the name of the musical based on a small-town election in Oregon that's part Our Town, part Rocky Horror?
Boy, you've got me totally stumped. It would be The Big Beaver.
I feel like that would go over well in Portland more than New York City, but Dr. Eric Fruits, what do you think? The musical based on a small town election in Oregon that's part Our Town, part Rocky Horror. The name is
Brokeback City.
All right, let's see if you can get this, Courtney. What do you think the name of the musical based on a recent small town election in Oregon is?
Little Shop of Size 12 Pumps.
You're getting closer. You're getting closer. I think this person does wear maybe very large pumps. Peter Wong, do you want to give it a shot? What's the name of the musical?
Boy, it's a good thing I used to work at the Statesman Journal because I have no idea. I'll say disgraced.
Is it called Silverton?
Oh, you're so close. It's called Stew for Silverton.
Oh, of course.
So the musical follows the election of Stu Rasmussen of Silverton, who was voted in as the country's first openly transgender mayor. Approximately 5,000 people attended the play's premiere in Seattle, where critics declared it downright wholesome. It's a good, old-fashioned American musical comedy, as accessible as The Music Man, that happens to feature a transgender protagonist. So everybody go get your tickets for Stew for Silverton. All right, our third fill in the blank. You ready? You guys are not exactly nailing this, but I'm still proud of you. Okay, he's running for re-election yet again, but John Kitzhaber previously served 2 terms as Oregon's governor before he left office in 2004. In 2002. At the time, Republican politicians in the state nicknamed him blank after an action movie villain. So let's start with Eric Fruits again. What action movie villain name did Republicans give Kitzhaber during his original terms?
That would be Dr. No.
Hey, you're correct.
I couldn't think of anything funny. I was going to say Mini-Me, but he's kind of tall.
Yeah, he is. So John Kitzhaber spent, his nickname was Dr. No. He spent 2 terms struggling against the Republican majority, vetoing many of their bills. The fictional Dr. No, of course, planned to disrupt America's space program with the power of an atomic-powered radio beam in the original James Bond film, while Kitzhaber has a much less lofty goal of disrupting Oregon's budget program with the power of enormous tax breaks for Nike.
And his favorite song is Neil Diamond's Forever in Blue Jeans.
Is that another made-up one, or is that true?
I'll let you decide.
Okay, our fourth fill in the blank. GMO labeling law, Measure 92, is the costliest measure campaign in Oregon history. But this month, a major backer of the plan to label GMO foods gave away hundreds of blank for free to anyone who asked. So Courtney Hammeister, this month, a major backer of the plan to label GMO foods gave away hundreds of what for free to anyone who asked?
Genetically modified ding-dongs.
Is that
Do
in
they
that
still make
Silverton movie?
ding-dongs? I don't know.
Is that the hostess treat?
The hostess treat, yes. I wasn't referring to anything else besides a hostess treat.
That sounds like it'd be more the marijuana anti-legalization campaign measure idea. But Peter, what do you think? A major backer of the plan to label GMO foods gave away hundreds of what for free this month?
Well, since I guess blue seed corn has already been used, I was going to say soap, but
Give away soap, like Dr. Bronner's soap?
yes.
That's not true. All right, let's take one more try. Jeff Mapes, this month, a major backer of the plan to label GMO food, gave away hundreds of blank for free to anyone who asked.
You mean there's a major backer besides Dr. Bronner's Magic Soap?
Magic alone will not pass this measure. What do you think it was?
Well, I do know that Whole Foods has all sorts of signs up in their stores, so maybe they're giving away free samples, which they do anyway.
Oh, you're so close on free samples. What kind of delicious free samples would make people scream?
GMO free.
All right, I'll just give you the answer. It's Ben & Jerry's co-founder, Jerry Greenfield, gave scoops of a recently rebranded version of its chocolate fudge brownie ice cream, which is now known as the flavor Food Fight. This is a big thing, said Greenfield, as he offered free scoops from one of Portland's 4 Ben & Jerry's. There's a lot of pressure here. So far, Food Fight Fudge Brownie is undefeated. Did anybody get free ice cream from him?
Whole Foods isn't in Salem, sorry.
All right, we have one more fill in the blank, and I have to go to the voters' pamphlet to read it. It's a page from the voters' pamphlet. Here we go.
Feel free to fall asleep.
Yes. I read this entire 700-page voter pamphlet from beginning to end to find a line for you guys to fill in.
I didn't write it, did I?
No.
Oh, good.
Are there excerpts from Springtime in Babylon in
Yeah.
that?
In the middle here, there's an illustrated version of the vampire sex novel written by a state representative candidate. I don't know, it's buried in there. I don't know if anyone else, did anybody else see that? Just me, okay.
I'd like to see the vampire and stew thing together.
Oh, the vampire sex novel musical and Stu for Silverton,
Yeah,
both
all
on-
mashed
both on
up.
stage.
Be awesome.
All right, so I'm reading from the party statement for the Constitution Party, one of the third parties here in Oregon. So fill in this line from the Constitution Party's description of themselves. They say, if you want to send a message to the other political parties that you are tired of their endless drift to blank and blank, vote for your Constitution Party candidates. So what does the Constitution Party fear? The line again is, if you want to send a message to the other political parties that you are tired of their endless drift to blank and blank, vote for your Constitution Party candidates. Jeff Mapes, what do you think?
Sodom and Gomorrah, of course.
You're surprisingly almost accurate, but Let's ask Dr. Eric Fruits, what do you think? If you want to send a message to the other political parties that you are tired of their endless drift to blank and blank,
Hell and high water.
hell and high water. Courtney, what do you think? If you want to send a message to the other political parties that you are tired of their endless drift to blank and blank,
I essentially just did Mad Libs as you were talking, so I got bananas and meerkats. That's my answer. Is that not right?
Oregon political parties have way too many bananas and meerkats going on. Vote for the Constitution Party.
Yes.
Is that a Rafi song? I like bananas and meerkats. Oh, whatever.
Actually, I feel like if the marijuana legalization measure passes, we're going to be seeing more bananas and meerkats in
Oh,
our
yeah.
Absolutely.
parties.
I'm going to ride one.
Peter Wong, what do you think? If you want to send a message to the other political parties that you are tired of their endless drift to blank and blank, vote for your Constitution Party.
I was going to say godlessness and hedonism, but
That's basically bananas and meerkats in my opinion. So. All right, you guys are all very close, but I'm going to read the actual sentence. It's, if you want to send a message to the other political parties that you are tired of their endless drift to socialism and tyranny.
Oh.
Clearly, vote for your Constitution Party candidate.
That does sound bad.
Yeah. There are no meerkats at all in socialism and tyranny.
Tyrannicals, meerkats, eating bananas.
is that what they meant by banana republic?
Oh, jeez. All right. Well, thank you all for completely failing at that game. I think we got maybe 2 right. I'll give you guys 2 on that one. So we are into our last round. I just want to say thanks to everybody for playing, and to sign off from the Portland City Club Friday Forum, dissecting the upcoming political election. I'll ask you guys all one last question. You guys have been such good sports. Can we hear it for our panelists? Yay. All right, so I'm going to ask you all one final question. If recreational marijuana is legalized this Tuesday, what is the first thing you're going to do Wednesday morning? All right, let's start off at the end with Peter Wong, who, as you recall, is a reporter in the Salem Bureau for the Portland Tribune. Peter, what is if recreational marijuana is legalized this Tuesday, what's the first thing you're going to do Wednesday morning?
Oh.
That's
He's
it.
doing it.
That is his answer. That's his entire answer. Just that. Pre-reenactment.
I did pass the drug test when I was hired, so.
And how long ago was that?
It was about 6 months ago.
Oh, okay.
It's out of the system now.
Just a couple weeks ago, though.
Yeah. Well, do you have any plans for Wednesday morning?
Well, it depends. It sounds weird. Depends where I wake up, whether I stay overnight in Portland or whether I drive back after election night to go to Salem, where I should point out our operation at Salem is housed at the Capitol Press, which, as some of you know, is an agricultural weekly covering agricultural things. So I think I will propose a new column on marijuana for the Capitol Press.
How exciting. Okay, Courtney Hammeister, head writer of Livewire Radio. If recreational marijuana is legalized this Tuesday, what is the first thing you're going to do Wednesday morning?
I am going to buy a Taco Bell franchise.
I'm glad I got to know you before you became a billionaire, because
Now you can contribute to Oregon campaigns.
yeah, you won't have
I'll
time
remember
for any of
you.
this.
Yes.
All right, so we're going to be rolling in chalupas. Dr. Eric Fruits, who's an economist at Portland State University. If marijuana legalization is passed this Tuesday, what's the first thing you're going to do Wednesday morning?
I don't know what the first thing I'm going to do is. I know the second thing I'm going to do is eat Cheetos, and the third thing I'm going to do is take a nap.
All right, let's close it out with Jeff Mapes, who's the Oregonian state politics reporter. Jeff, if recreational marijuana is legalized this Tuesday, what's the first thing you're going to do Wednesday morning?
I am going to have an imaginary conversation with my 18-year-old self, because I think there's going to be a lot of imaginary conversations going on the next day. And I know that he would be excited to hear that I got paid for writing about pot, although I'm sure he'd quickly ask, you mean it's going to take 40 years? And then I'll have to tell him that the worst part is I'd really just rather get high by riding my bike and getting, my endorphins flowing. Then he'd sigh and say, dude, what happened to you?
All right, so that's the end of our Friday Forum on the upcoming election. As we round out this fun discussion about the election, I should point out the one thing we can all agree on, besides that we should be investing in Taco Bell, that we should actually be voting. As of this week, only 28% of Oregonians had turned in their ballots. Can we see a raise of hand in this room of who's turned in their ballot? Oh, we're almost 100%. Shame. Except for that one guy in the middle. Shame on that guy. I filled out my ballot last night. I have my ballot in hand. And I signed the envelope, and I put it in the secrecy envelope. I did not put my return address because I don't want this thing back. But after all this tomfoolery is done with, I'm going to go down to the ballot box in Pioneer Square and drop in my ballot.
And save 44 cents.
Let's hear it again for our panelists and to the Portland City Club. Thank you so much for your time listening to this forum.
So unfortunately, because this has been so much fun, we have run out of broadcast time for further, well, we didn't have questions, for further Sarah questions, and we'll have to stop for the day. But as we close, please join me in offering our sincere thanks to Sarah Merck, Eric Fruits, Courtney Hammeister, Jeff Mapes, and Peter Wong.